kept secret from the katabole, the commencement of activities. The commencement of activities. Matthew 25:34. Matthew 25:34.
Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, Come, ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world.
Inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the commencement, the katabole of activities. Luke 11:50. Luke 11 verse 50.
That the blood of all the prophets which was shed from the foundation of the world may be required of this generation.
From the commencement of activities. Hebrews 9:26. Hebrews 9:26.
For then must he often have suffered since the foundation of the world. But now once in the end of the world hath he appeared to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself.
He suffered since the commencement of the activities. The katabole, the commencement of activities. That at the meeting of the ages, now in the end of the world, the meeting of the ages, or the meeting of the times, had he appeared to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself. Notice he had used foundation of the world in Hebrews chapter 4 verse 3 already. So look at 1 Peter 1:19 and 20. 1 Peter chapter 1 verse 19 and 20.
But with the precious blood of Christ, as of a lamb without blemish and without spot.
Next verse.
Who verily was foreordained before the foundation of the world, but was manifest in these last times for you.
He was foreordained before the commencement of the activities. So I was like, what if Adam didn't sin? Would Jesus still have died? He was foreordained to die. Foreordained before the activities of the foundation, the katabole of the world, but was manifest. Even though the foreordination was done at the commencement, but the manifestation will take place in the last times. So notice that there was a provision for man's imperfection ahead of time. There was provision for man's imperfection before man's actions. Before man's actions. Provision was already made for the imperfection of man. I want to say something here now, but I want to be very careful because I want you to be also careful and responsible with what I'm about to say. That's why you need to know that God did not make a perfect man, for lack of a better word. And please be responsible with that information. It's just for lack of a word. God didn't make a man that will be sinless. Neither did he make a man that will sin. So, but God ahead of time saw the imperfection of man's choice. So ahead of time made provision before the actions. Similar to Titus 1:2, the promise of eternal life. Similar to 1 Peter 1:19 to 20, in these last times. Is that the same thing? Hello? Hello? Let's read Titus 1:2. Read for me, PJ. Titus chapter 1 verse 2. Pay attention to the reading.
In hope of eternal life, which God that cannot lie promised before the world began.
Now read 1 Peter 1:20. Pay attention. 1 Peter chapter 1 verse 20.
who verily was foreordained before the foundation of the world, but was manifest in these last times for you.
Is it the same thing they are saying? Yes. Revelation 13 verse 8. Revelation 13 verse 8.
And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world.
Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. That means from time immemorial, God's cure to sin was a promise. From time immemorial, God's cure to sin was a promise, in hope of eternal life, which God promised before the world began. That's God's cure to sin. Evangelia, a self-fulfilling promise. A promise that God made that only God will fulfill without man's assistance. Evangelia, eternal life. Revelation 13:8 has this syntax situation there. Syntax disorganization. Actually, it should be whose names were not written in the book of life. Whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world of the Lamb slain. Because we have read so far is the book of life of the Lamb slain. So the Lamb was slain, but when was the promise made? Before the foundation of the world. How is the promise manifested? Through preaching. That promise of eternal life will manifest when we preach it and people believe it. How can they believe in him whom they have not heard? How can they hear without a preacher? The book of life, which you can also call the promise of life. Is it the same? Is the book of life the promise of life? Yes. From the foundation of the world of the Lamb slain. So the reason why the Lamb is slain now is because the promise had been made. So the promise to give life has been made. There can't be death from the foundation of the world. The only thing we have from the foundation of the world is life. Death will only come when man refuses to choose that life. So death will be the absence of that life. So death is not a created product, rather death is an absence. Death is not what is created by God, but death takes effect when God, who is life, is absent. So the absence of life is called death, just like the absence of light is called darkness. That's why God is light and there can never be darkness, because he will never be absent from himself. God will never be absent from himself. That's why the absence of God in a man is death. But the presence of God is life. I am come that you may have life. So death is absence. Something is missing. Darkness is absence. Something is missing. Is it making sense now? So when people say God killed somebody, God can be the killer, because killing only happens when God is absent. Death only occurs in the absence of God. Are you here? Revelation 17 verse 8. Revelation 17 verse 8.
The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is.
Whose names were not written in the book of life from the commencement of the activities. The book of life promised from the foundation of the world, the lamb slain. Is that the manifestation of that promise? Yes. Go back to Hebrews chapter 4, because there was a promise of life before man's activities, right? Hello. Was there a promise of life before man's activities? Was that promise of life rest? The promise was Shabbat, C-H-A-B-A-T-H, or catapausis, K-A-T-A-P-A-U-S-I-S. So what was man meant to do to enter? Believe. Now to know the reinforcement, go back to Hebrews chapter 4 verse 4. Hebrews 4, 4 and 5. Read for me.
For he spake in a certain place of the seventh day on this wise, and God did rest the seventh day from all his works. 5. And in this place again, if they shall enter into my rest.
If they shall enter. So he is saying to you that the promise was reinforced. He spoke once in a certain place. Reinforced in Psalm 95 verse 11. That's where the promise of God's rest was reinforced. He said it couldn't have been Canaan. The rest of God couldn't have been Canaan. Psalm 95, 11. Put it up. Let's see. Read for me. Psalms. Yep.
Unto whom I swear in my wrath that they should not enter into my rest.
That's the reinforcement of that promise. So it couldn't have been Canaan, because this was said after they had entered Canaan. Then David years later still got up and said, there is a rest. There is a rest. So Canaan was not the rest. If Joshua had given them rest, he wouldn't have spoken of another day. Look at the symbolism. You know, Canaan was a place to dwell. So the rest of God is a dwelling place. And that rest is in God. It's not in a town. It's not in a location. It's in God. It's not even in a hotel. It's in God. So man had the volition of believing this. So he should enter into the rest. So we can say what therefore was absent in the Garden of Eden was faith in the rest of God.